Well, it's now time to review trading activities at the Nigerian Exchange Limited. And with me in the studio, of course, is market editor. That's for TVC News, Effiong. It's good to have you join us, of course, to share us. I know you also want to get a piece of the Donald Trump tariff and impact. But first, let's take a look at the trade, what has happened on the floor of the trading market. We understand that we're closing positive, closing at 0.15%. Exactly. With the gainers, I see NSL Tech. So just talk us through, really. Before we get to today's gainers, let's just first understand how the global market is responding to Donald Trump's tariff on nations, and what is the latest, and how does this impact us as Nigerians?
The latest is that many of the markets globally, they have taken the shocks and they are beginning to accept, then recover somehow. So early trades this morning showed major markets taking maybe 1%.
That's good news. But that's good news, right?
Yes. So many like that. But there's a caveat, if the US government insists and continues, to impose this tariff, as he has threatened the government of China with another 50% tariff, threat if it happens, and that means China will even receive up to 100% or more 104% tariff imposition. That's a very huge one. So if China will react, and EU is also preparing ground for that, then the real threats of global trade is what we will see. We will then see the economic war. This time not military, economic war, that you will produce and you have so much in
your country, and you cannot
you cannot send out to consumers. So warehouses will just be stocked, and certainly there will be problems. And so we only wait to see what kind of thing will come out. I understand that the American people want some negotiations. They have started with some countries. But how many countries will really want to go and meet America and negotiate? Do you understand? Exactly. So because of country pride, we will also see this thing. The friction is just what is on the table. So you're predicting that we might likely see a meltdown like we saw in 2008? Exactly the way it is. We are really troubled. If nations will not trade freely between and among themselves, and you have companies putting money into production processes which in the end they cannot access and there's no profit, investors putting money into businesses which they cannot really predict the direction of the business, then there is a real problem. We had the global the financial meltdown in 2008. That one was localized. You understand? It came from the housing problem that the US, had. It touched Asian markets. It touched Europe. Majority of us in Africa, we were somehow insulated from that. But this one it now, seems it concerns us because everywhere, we're all trading oil. Apart from bigger nations, yes, President Trump has imposed complete 10% on all, countries' trade, and so it is global. You understand? Yeah, so let's wait and see how countries will react to this, with the sovereignty and pride. And that speaks, of course, to the future of capitalism without free trade. Capitalism certainly is being threatened if this particular situation is lengthened. Because in capitalism, you use money to trade, you use money to do production. Of course, there will be free, we suppose that there should be free exchange of ideas and even goods. Then the profit motive that you went into production in the first instance. So if this barrier as it is will be sustained, and countries trade, they cannot trade easily, of course capitalism will be redefined. It will not be free levels of me exchanging goods with you or you buying what you want. As it is now, imposition of tariffs is adding to the weight of production that companies are incurring.
And we
You
didn't prepare
understand?
for this when we started this year.
Exactly.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
The coming days are really interesting. We'll see how that, of course, affects the market here in Nigeria.
Certainly.
Markets editor, Effiong Ekop, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we get to rebound tomorrow again and get some good news on the stock market.
Yes, I hope that we do. We get it that way.
All right, well, that's all we can take on Business Nigeria. Thank you so much for watching. I am Sarah Ayeku. Bye for now.